But what was the real aim then of saying it? Because by saying it, it put South Africa on the back foot. And Ramaphosa was forced then to go and make sure Putin doesn't come here. Because now, if Putin came to South Africa for the BRICS summit, and there was this issue of the armaments to Russia, the end result would be that, you know, it would create a huge problem for Ramaphosa. Well, today I want to start a new series for everyone out there, which is my take on current affairs under Surve Speaks. So what I've come to realize over the last couple of weeks, since I've done a few social media interviews like MacG and also on Twitter Spaces, is that people really don't know what's going on. But sometimes they know about an affair, an issue, but they don't really know what's behind it. And they really want to have some deeper insight into these things. So the first, my take, will be on Lady R. Now, some of you might never have heard of Lady R. Lady R, by the way, is not a woman. It's not someone that's got red shoes, and it's not some fancy person that has written a novel. It's not the name of a novel. Believe it or not, Lady R is the name of a ship. And in case you missed this all, apparently a couple of weeks ago, Lady R was a ship that landed in Simonstown, which is the big naval base and shipyard, shipping area just south of False Bay in Cape Town. Now, it became controversial because the US ambassador to South Africa, Ruben Brigidi, made a very public statement to say that Lady R had in fact uploaded ammunition, armaments for Russia.
We are confident that weapons were loaded onto that vessel, and I would bet my life on the accuracy of that assertion.
And this caused huge uproar out there, and it resulted in the Americans and commentators and others implying that South Africa was supplying armaments to Russia. So what then actually happened? Well, now this is the interesting bit, because President Ramaphosa goes public in announcing the findings of a commission of inquiry into Lady R.
From its investigation, the panel found no evidence that any cargo of weapons was loaded for export onto the ship Lady R. The panel found that there was no evidence to support the claim that the ship transported weapons from South Africa destined for Russia. And none of the persons who made these allegations could provide any evidence to support the claims that had been leveled against our country.
And apparently they interviewed 50 people, took 100 statements, investigated all of this. And the commission's findings were that, on the contrary, not only was Lady R not supplying armaments or taking armaments to Russia, but in fact it was offloading an order that came for arms corps to South Africa. So, this is my take. There are three scenarios. Scenario number one is that the US ambassador was fed information by a source. Now, we know that the sources that were out there suggesting that Lady R was uploading armaments for Russia came from the Democratic Alliance, and in particular the Western Cape part of the Democratic Alliance. Or somewhere along the line, I read that the Western Cape government was the one that was pushing the story about Lady R. So it's possible that the US ambassador, Ruben Brigitte, could have gotten this information from the DA. And we know that Alan Winde, the premier and the leader of the DA in the Western Cape, said that he would arrest President Putin of Russia should he come to Cape Town for the BRICS summit. Now, of course, Alan Winde can't even arrest ordinary gangsters in Cape Town. How the heck is he going to arrest the president of Russia? He'll probably get a nuclear warhead on his front lawn if he even tries that. But in any event, of course, people talk nonsense all the time. And Winde was probably blowing wind, blowing in the wind or setting sail to the wind to use the whole thing of Lady R. So that's the first scenario. Secondly, Ruben would have gotten intelligence from intelligence agencies. Now we know possibly one of the intelligence agencies could be the CIA, but generally speaking, their information would be a little bit more accurate, you would think. After all, the CIA has a hell of a reputation for intelligence in the world today. Or maybe they got it from the Daily Maverick, which supposedly is funded by the CIA as well. And I think the Daily Maverick did write an article on Lady R, I'm not sure. But I know they took a very strong position on Putin coming and all of the stuff with the USA. So that's the second scenario, that the CIA could have given this information to the US ambassador, because we know all embassies in the world have got attachés that are intelligence operatives and who collect information for their countries. I think the CIA knew that there were no armaments uploaded onto Lady R, the ship, to Russia. I think Ambassador Ruben Brigitte knew that there were no armaments uploaded to go to Russia. I think this is what we call a false flag operation. So what is a false flag operation? A false flag operation is when you create an incident or a set of incidents which causes a whole lot of consequences. And so it was actually a brilliant strategy by Ambassador Ruben Brigitte to allege or say so emphatically that the Lady R was in fact going to upload armaments for Russia. Because what happened next was that it put the South African government on the back foot. Because here was the US ambassador accusing Ramaphosa's government of sending arms to Russia when they knew South Africa doesn't have that capability. And secondly, they knew this was not truthful. But what was the real aim then of saying it? Because by saying it, it put South Africa on the back foot. And Ramaphosa was forced then to go and make sure Putin doesn't come here. Because now, if Putin came to South Africa for the BRICS summit, and there was this issue of the armaments to Russia, the end result would be that, it would create a huge problem for Ramaphosa. So the real aim of this false flag operation by the US ambassador was to make sure that so much pressure is put on South Africa that they don't invite Ramaphosa. So what you do is you create another incident unrelated to what you really want to achieve. And the real achievement was to ensure that Putin does not come to South Africa. And hence we had all those late night phone calls, the visit from Ramaphosa to Putin to beg him not to come here. It wasn't because of the ICC. Because in terms of the ICC, Russia is a member of the Security Council. So they would have needed special permission to arrest Putin in any case, because that's the law in terms of the ICC and any Security Council member. The issue was really, this was a very clever strategy by the US intelligence services and the US ambassador to make sure that Putin doesn't come for the BRICS summit. And you have to hand it to them. It was brilliant. So everyone is saying, well, the US ambassador should apologize, the US ambassador should be expelled, the US should recall the ambassador. But actually, it was a false flag operation. That's exactly, and I can't see how South Africans, our politicians, cannot see that this was a false flag operation. It was brilliant on the part of the US ambassador. He forced South Africa to uninvite Putin to the BRICS summit and actually achieved what ultimately the US wanted to achieve. The US couldn't care where there's a pissy-willy bit of arms going to Russia on the ship because they know South Africa doesn't have that capability. If anything, South Africa imports from Russia and Eastern Europe arms, right? So the real issue was, why not create a false flag? And in doing so, you prevent the Russian president from coming here for the BRICS summit. And in the end, they succeeded. So there you are. That's my take on Lady R. I thank you.